Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'd like to do a Bible study and such with everybody. The thing is in that I believe everybody and such is misunderstood with what is supposed to be known about the Bible. So let me go ahead and clarify a few of those things up real quick. Now everybody knows that you have the Old Testament and the New Testament. However, most people don't, concentrate and think on and such that the New Testament needs the Old Testament and such to validate its existence. Because after all, and such isn't most of what the New Testament says. They say that it is written. So, in context and such, if it is written, the context would be, where are these things written at? And then the point and such of having to understand these things and such is because there's a lot of misunderstandings and such that going on with the Bible. First, the Bible is a history book. It's a history book and pertaining to a certain people that's actually missing their history. It's a history book, and as far as the people and such on how they dealt with their God, how they dressed, the music they sing. All these things are also part of one's culture. So for my African Americans out here and such who think and such that we're from Africa, we are actually from here, the native land and such to us indigenous people and such is here. The reason why we are missing our history and such is simply because our enemies and such have gone about and such to hide this history and such from us. I just hope that the message and such is received and that the understanding is made clear. If you got any questions and such, hit me in the comments. And then I hope to clarify and such with more studies and such. These are things and such that me and my children go over quite often. We come to an understanding and such that if you just strictly read via the Old Testament, you do not have the same understanding and such as you have when you read the New Testament and then work your way backwards. So I hope to clarify some of these things today. Now, everybody knows the famous verse and such in John 3:16 that God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son and such. So I'm here to clarify some things. First and foremost, who is this son? Or does he have more than one? Most cases and such, people will explain, no, he doesn't have more than one son. But the context and such that, but people love to claim that we're all children of God. We are not all children of God. God has a chosen people that he has chose to represent him in his holiness. We are actually under the curses and such of Deuteronomy because our forefathers did not listen. So I hope to clarify some things is all. In Exodus 4, everybody knows the infamous story and such about the plagues and such of Egypt. But does everyone know, and like a lot of people kind of miss over these verses and such, there's not a whole lot of explanation and understanding and such of these things either. I want you to try to look them up for yourselves, especially if you have that New Testament understanding. Now, it says, and the Lord said unto Moses, this is Exodus 4, I'm going to pick up at verse 21. And the Lord said unto Moses, when thou goest to return into Egypt, see that thou do all those wonders before Pharaoh, which I have put in thine hand, but I will harden his heart that he shall not let the people go. And thou shalt say unto Pharaoh, thus saith the Lord, Israel is my son, even my firstborn. And I say unto thee, let my son go, that he may serve me. And if thou refuse to let him go, behold, I will slay thy son, even thy firstborn. So, if anyone and such has any children and such, how many firstborns can you have? One. So if you can only have one firstborn and such, then the context and such that you can't have more than, you can have more children, but you can't have more than one firstborn. So, let's keep these things into perspective and such. So, when he's talking about how he will slay the sons, he will slay the firstborn of the Egyptians if they do not let the children of Israel go. We all know that happened. And Moses, this is Exodus 11, and Moses said, picking up at verse 4, and Moses said, "Thus saith the Lord, about midnight will I go out into the midst of Egypt, and all the firstborn of the land of Egypt shall die, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sitteth upon his throne, even unto the firstborn of the maidservant that is behind the mill, and all the firstborn of beasts. And there shall be a great cry throughout all the land of Egypt, such as there was none like it, nor shall it be like it any more. But against any of the children of Israel shall not a dog move his tongue, against man or beast, that ye may know the difference, that the Lord doth put a difference between the Egyptians and Israel. And all these thy servants shall come down unto me, and bow down themselves unto me, saying, Get thee out, and all the people that follow thee. And after that I will go out. And he went out from Pharaoh in a great anger." So the context and such is that's a hinging principle and such there, that he slew his firstborn, the Egyptians and such firstborn, and he hardened Pharaoh's heart so that he would not let Israel go until the slaying of the firstborn. So what would maybe stick out in your mind a little bit more than if he just simply let him go and such with the plagues. If he lets them go and such, let's say like around the time that the hail and such came down. So if the hail came down and then Pharaoh feared God enough to let his people go, we don't have the slaying of the firstborn. We don't have a set apart story and such that's hinging and such on what you should know and understand about the slaying of the firstborn in Egypt. The reason why you have an understanding and such of that slaying of the firstborn in Egypt is also supposed to stick out in your mind, who's this firstborn? And with that and such, I'll get into some more videos and such. I'm not new to this. I just thought and such that it'd be something and such I try to divulge with the people. We are under curses, in case anybody didn't know. There's a people and such that is here in the world and such. We do not have a language. We do not have a God. We do not have a place of congregation to meet up and to worship our God in the spirit of truth and such. The reason being for that is because our ancestors and our forefathers and such, they didn't do right by God in this covenant. So it's simply plain to see and such that these things and such are happening to a people. If you were to look at what these things were, I think it's clear and evident. There's a lot more information to come. Try to upload on here maybe at least once a day. If you check it out, if anything comes across your mind, hit me up.